Your job is to put together a team you trust. If you think about everything you're up against all at once, you'll crack.
I was there until the very end.
I'm glad you got a little time together.
We got more than we thought we would.
This isn't a job I take lightly. I have to be responsible for everyone.
If he's frozen out in deep space somewhere, I have not a single doubt you will find him.
Sorry, boys. It's ladies' night.
We don't know where they're from. They're extremely powerful.
You're from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Never heard of it.
Hey guys, welcome back to my second trailer video for Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. So this is one or two, maybe three videos on which I'll be discussing specific aspects of the trailer in more detail. Now the two most important aspects to discuss over here about this trailer are, interestingly enough, all about the two dead agents, or the one that was presumed to die soon enough after the end of Season 5, and the one that actually died on the finale of Season 5, Phil Coulson and Leopold Fitz. So on this video we're going to be talking Coulson, how he's back, all the possible theories, why this one or why that one, and why not. So without further ado, and because we've got a lot ahead of us, I believe we should get started right away and without wasting any more time. So first and foremost, let's establish a few cornerstones, sort of make sure that we agree on certain points over here so I could basically stay on topic for the rest of this video. So number one, Endgame will fully handle the Thanos snap. That means that come Season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we'll not be seeing pretty much anyone getting snapped out of existence, if it were to be set after Endgame of course, timeline-wise. I'm basing this on the fact that historically, 5 seasons over and over again, the events on the series have always happened simultaneously with the events on the movie side of things. But however, we're just establishing a pattern over here, so there is always the chance that things change, there's a first to everything. So the possibility does exist, even though very minor, that the events of AOS Season 6 are actually set before Endgame, but after Infinity War. But number 2 though, Endgame has got one or two ways to play the Save the Day game. They could either reverse the snap or undo it. I believe reversal has way greater chances of happening, but who knows, it still could go either way. Number 3, reversing the snap would mean it never happened. The event itself would be erased from the timeline in one way or the other, mainly by changing the events leading up to it. Now between leaked photos, the trailer of Endgame, the very first trailer, the fact that we heard Janet Van Dyne talk to Scott Lang about time vortices within the quantum realm, there's this huge chance that reversal, changing the timeline, is what's actually coming our way. But number 4, when I use the term undoing the snap, I'm talking about Endgame's resolution having nothing with erasing the snap from happening to start with, but rather only undoing its effects. Number 5, the writers only killed Coulson at the end of Season 5, or being the smart writers that they are, insinuated his future death, because at the time they thought that Season 5 was probably going to end up being their final season. Now obviously the reason they kinda left it open-ended, giving him a ceremony before he even died, that was most probably because they wanted to leave it open-ended for a reason, just in case they got renewed and they needed to bring back Coulson one way or the other. But finally though, number 6, except for the writing on the trailer, Agent Coulson is dead, there's no other reason to believe he's actually dead. Not a single member of the team mentioned he's dead. Phrases like "before the end" were used, but death itself, that is most definitely yet to be mentioned by any member of Team S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, am I saying that this is going to be the case, that Coulson is alive and all of that good stuff? Not really, I'm just saying it's a possibility. It is actually one that carries very low weight on my list of theories. I mean, I don't really think that's the case, but I like to keep an open mind. I can't judge by a trailer that's actually 1 minute long for an entire season of 13 episodes, so I'm just gonna keep it on the list for the time being. That being said though, let me remind you that Chloe Bennett never actually went out of her way to state that Coulson is dead, but this one question out of all the questions out there seems to be always posed in interviews, and she always seems to answer in the positive. There are two reasons she might be doing that. One of them is because this is the entire mystery of the season, or part of the mystery of the season, and she wouldn't just spoil it, and they do want us to think that Coulson is dead. The other possible reason is he's actually dead. Now, Chloe Bennett never confirmed that Coulson got snapped away. Coulson was ill at the end of Season 5, that's the only fact that we know. But even then, and even though, I'm going to keep an open mind, starting with the least likely theory and building up all the way towards the most likely theory in my opinion, and number 1, the snap treatment theory. So there's a really good reason why I never indulged this theory. Now, since Season 5 ended, a lot of commenters have been talking to me about how Coulson might have been impacted by the snap and how that means that he would come back fully treated, or possibly means that, and fully functional as well. But this theory is purely based on one or two possible outcomes of another Marvel production that the writers of the series may or may not know the outcome of. It's a good theory, and I like it. I actually love it, by the way. Coulson gets snapped away by Thanos, and when he's returned after the undoing of the effects of the snap, he's cured. All is good and dandy. It's magical, possibly inexplicable, but still serves the purpose. The one aspect, though, that this theory seems to ignore is the fact that so far, most roads and most indications do seem to lead to a reversal, as I mentioned earlier, and not an undoing. But even if it were to be an undoing, we've got a problem. What May said on the trailer, she got to spend time with Coulson. In her words on the trailer, it was actually more time than they thought they had. But based on the timeline at the end of Season 5, the snap was moments away, hours away at best. So unless May is actually lying early on in the trailer when talking about having spent time with Coulson, there's probably no chance in hell Coulson got snapped. But theory number 2, though, is that Coulson is a Skrull. Now that's a great idea. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has always found a way to mirror events from the movie side by presenting parallels to them on the series. We had the Inhuman Registration Act and their tracking around the very same time that we had Civil War. We had Doctor Strange hitting theaters when we got Ghost Rider, and we had Aliens in Wrecked Futures when we had Thanos underway to decimate half of the population of the universe. Now, if the series were to go that way, there would be so many questions to ask here. But the most important out of all of these questions is would Marvel Studios, who are just starting their Skrull story, allow Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel Television in general, such use of the race? Like they're just doing their own version of the Secret Invasion in parallel, maybe even ahead of the movies. So unless Captain Marvel is the only movie within the movie side of things of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that is going to use the Skrulls as a core and integral part to its story, the entire idea for Secret Invasion, then there's no chance in hell Marvel Television is going to be allowed to use them anytime soon. But moving on to number 3, after the snap was prevented, things changed and Coulson survived and was never stabbed by Loki. But that would require a lot of changes when it comes to the overall arcs of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. included. We need to remember that Coulson was integral to bringing the Avengers together on Avengers Assemble. His death was integral to that effect. We would also need an explanation as to why Coulson decided to leave the Avengers side, Nick Fury's side, and go work with this team. But however, if the changes do stick to the original arcs and the original stories for the most of it, then chances are memory loss due to the changes in the timeline, ripple effects through time and all of that, is most definitely going to be one plausible way to answer the question of why does Coulson react in this fashion at the end of this trailer. He just never heard of that shield that they speak of. Once again, though, this theory faces the criticism of being heavily reliant on the unknown outcome of a movie that could actually go either of two different ways. But moving on to number 4, every cure has a side effect, and there's the possibility that Coulson has been saved with some kind of cure, but with side effects, or this one side effect, memory loss. So in this scenario, some cure would have surfaced, but there had to be a price to pay, and the price, obviously, was Coulson becoming someone else. Someone who just does not remember anything about his past. Now may I remind you over here of the bit about his death not being mentioned flat out by any character on this trailer, but rather only induced and insinuated by something that was written on the trailer. Trailers can be tricky, by the way. That's the game of trailers. Now, I do love watching Clark Gregg on the series. What I love more is watching Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson on the series, our Phil Coulson. So it would make a lot of sense that I'd like for this theory to take effect, but where was that cure at the end of Season 5? I mean, they made a big deal about the Centipede serum and the last bit of it. So to find this cure, this magical cure, right after Season 5 ended and within the very small window that Phil Coulson had, that would be a little bit crazy, a little bit corny as well. But moving on to the fifth theory, Coulson is the new Ghost Rider, or to be more precise, a second Ghost Rider. I understand the first comment that comes to mind over here is, no, we won Robbie. I'm not saying Robbie is gone, by the way. I'm not saying he couldn't return if the show wanted him to. I'm just saying that technically and from a pure comic book perspective, multiple Ghost Riders could exist and at the same time. The case that does come to mind over here, and right out of the comics, is the case of Johnny Blaze and Robbie Reyes existing or coexisting at the same time. Now for this to work, there is always the chance that Robbie Reyes managed to pull something that saved Coulson, gave him a spirit of the Ghost Rider or spirit of vengeance. There's also the possibility that there's this other side to the Ghost Rider deal that we've got no idea about. One that stipulated that upon death or close to death, Coulson would give up his soul to the Ghost Rider. There is finally the option of a second deal or a new deal with the Ghost Rider. Now I would love to see this option come into effect, if not for anything, then for the sole purpose of hopefully getting to watch a flaming and flying Lola. But moving on to number 6 on Captain Marvel, Phil could have been taken by the Skrulls. The Phil that died at the end of Season 5 or after the end of Season 5, that was the Skrull Coulson, and the one that we get to see on Season 6 is actually the original Coulson. And in this case, he'd have no memory of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of a mind wipe. Now the one major problem that I see with this theory is that Phil Coulson died on Avengers Assemble. And I don't think with him being a Skrull, the Tahiti Project would have been able to save him. So there are basically going to be a lot of plot holes with some of these theories, some of which cannot be remedied. But 6 down and 3 to go, and number 7, Coulson is a Xartan, something that would totally fit with the event mirroring trope that I just spoke of when I was discussing the Skrull theory, and also it wouldn't contradict with Marvel Studios doing their own thing. Now Xartans have as well been already sneaked into Marvel Television during the events of the second season of Runaways, replacing the comic book Super Skrull Zavin with a Xartan Zavin TV version. The good thing about Xartans as well is they are in more ways than not pretty similar to Skrulls. They're shapeshifters, and just like War Skrulls, they can take the powers or mimic the powers of the person that they choose to shapeshift into. But finally, when it comes to powers and abilities, Xartans could go invisible as well. So Xartans could really represent the perfect parallel to Skrulls without Marvel Television having to go through hoops to work around Marvel Studios, because they do have dibs on Skrulls. In the comics as well, and with their brief appearances, Xartans have tried to invade Earth, and even though their attempt failed, it does allow the show to present a comic book storyline in a way, no matter how minor that storyline is. But number 8, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into the COULSON-VERSE. So this theory is really the one that's been dominating since the trailer released. People are split between Coulson as a Skrull and Coulson as an alternate reality version of the character, and I really preferred this one over the Skrull theory. It is the best explanation and the most straightforward one out of all the theories out there, but however, this theory does have a little bit of a fault considering the trailer. Now the assumption over here is that Coulson is a citizen of this other universe the team is going to be visiting. That's based on the trailer, based on the fact that they were heading right for that wormhole. The only people going for that visit are S.H.I.E.L.D. members, so it makes perfect sense that they all know that Coulson is dead. The one question to be posed over here though is who in the hell out of all the members of Team S.H.I.E.L.D. would go to another universe and then decide to stop and ask a doppelganger if they are from S.H.I.E.L.D. On a side note though, a lot of people have been assuming this Coulson is an evil Coulson and talking about it like it's something that's confirmed. It is not really confirmed. We've got no idea if this Coulson is going to be an evil Coulson. But finally though, theory number 9, this is only my top theory because it happens to be extremely good, thinking outside the box, and relates to the comics, and it could be how Endgame or another movie manages to bring in the X-Men into the MCU as well. So it is all about the Gatherer's arc from the comics that ran through the Avengers issues number 343 to 375 out of Volume 1, and it could have some applications both here and on Endgame as well. But let us talk its application over here for now and discuss the Avengers on another video. Now this new version of Coulson could pretty much be Proctor from the comics. And Proctor is the very same character from the comics that started off as the leader of the Avengers in this alternate universe. Proctor, by the way, ended up being a villain in the comics. His main beef over here would be with Melinda May because she would represent Cersei from the comics. But still, and in this case, he could act as the agent. It kind of opens up this whole mess between realities. pretty much, and in a way bringing realities together, opening up the door to bring characters of series like The Gifted and Legion into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now the only problem with this theory is if it's gonna be done by Avengers Endgame and we're assuming that we're still all connected, one Marvel Cinematic Universe, then it doesn't need to be done here. And if it is done over here, it doesn't need to be done on the Endgame side, and I assume Endgame or the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie side of things would want to do it. They've got a bigger pool of viewers, including the MCU TV viewers, so they need to be the ones doing the explanation. They need to explain it to a lot more people, including the ones that watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Finally though, this theory works well with the he's an evil Coulson theory, and is a play basically on the alternate reality Coulson theory. But credit though where credit is due, this theory is all attributable to the comment of Lisa Slusher on my trailer breakdown video. Thank you so much, Lisa. I just stole it and put it in here. I had to give credit for it. Now what I want to say over here is that this is just a start. We're listing options over here, theories, some of which will be refined as we go, some of which will be completely eliminated. We'll be getting more teasers, more trailers, we'll get to watch Captain Marvel, we'll get to watch Avengers Endgame, and some of our theories over here will no longer seem appealing, and some others will possibly fly to the top of my list. But that being said though, my work here is done temporarily because there's more where this came from. We're going to be talking fits on my next video, so let me know in the comments down below which theory you preferred out of these, or if you've got one of your own. Now if you did like this video, you can always drop it a much appreciated like, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. And until the next time you tune in for another one of my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos, thank you so much for tuning in to this video. Have a great day.